the fairy doll, Rumer Godden, and we're going to continue with chapter 8 of The Doll's House. March Payne had been seen by someone at the cleaners who had taken her address and written to the great aunt's relations to ask if March Payne too might not come to the exhibition. The great aunt's relations said yes. March Payne was delighted. Chapter 9. When Toddy was next taken out of her box, she found herself in a large, cold room that had long tables covered with blue cloth against each wall, and a number of ladies all busy unpacking dolls. Toddy had never seen so many ladies and so many dolls, particularly so many dolls. There was every kind of doll: baby dolls, little girl dolls, boy dolls, lady and gentleman dolls, soldier dolls, sailor dolls, acting dolls, dancing dolls, clockwork dolls, fairy dolls, Chinese dolls, Polish, Japanese, French, German, Russian. There was a white wax doll with exquisite white china hands, and a Dutch fisherman with a basket on his back, and a Flemish doll in market clothes, and her cook sitting down with her basket. There were Japanese dolls with blank white faces, and Chinese dolls whose faces were as alive as snakes, with painted snaky eyebrows and long noses. There were dancers and ceremonial dolls with satin trousers and red painted shoes. There were two little German dolls with yellow fringes and gentle brown eyes and peasant clothes, and a Policinelli, very old, with his legs drawn up and a carved, frightening, evil face. There was every kind and sort of doll, and they filled the room, each standing in its place and showing what kind of doll it was. Some of them were very handsome and imposing. All of them, without exception, were far, far greater than Toddy. She felt small and shy and longed to go home. "But I can't go home," said Toddy. "I shall never go home again." And her secret trouble filled her so strongly that if wood could have drooped, Toddy would have drooped. "Oh, oh, oh," cried poor little Toddy. And she thought of them all at home: Mr. Plantagenet, Bertie, Darner, Apple. When she thought of Apple, she felt as if she must break into splinters. But of course, being made of such good wood, she gave no outward sign. A lady took her up in her hand. "Where shall we put this darling little thing?" she asked. "Look, she goes with this sampler." "What a charming idea," said another, but Toddy did not think it was the least bit charming. "A farthing doll," said another lady. "Why, I should think she must be unique." Toddy did not know what unique meant if you don't go and look it up in the dictionary. For all she could tell, it might be something rude, and she wished she could hang her head. But of course a wooden neck will never, never bend, and so she stayed, staring as woodenly as possible straight in front of her. The ladies took her and set her up on the center of one of the long tables, with the sampler behind her and two square cards, and one longer one in front of her. From Toddy's point of view, these cards were upside down so that she could not read them. They looked like this. Let's see if I can show you the upside down. Is it not focusing? But it's upside down. I'll turn it around. I'll turn it upside down and read it. Lent by her great-granddaughters Emily and Charlotte Dane in 1946. Farthing doll dressed by same little girl of 1846. Sampler worked by a little girl in 1846. Now, I'll turn it back over. On the table opposite Toddy were four dolls under a glass dome cover. Next to her, on her right side, was a wax doll with a satin dress, and on the other side a walking doll dressed in blue satin with bustle behind and white flounces. She held, tip-tilted, a blue parasol, and in the other tiny hand a fan. Who are those in the case? Asked Toddy. They were Queen Victoria's dolls when she was a child, said the wax doll. Ooh, said Toddy. She remembered Queen Victoria, of course. La, we've been put in one of the I've been put in one of the best positions, is it you say, in the room, said the walking doll. Why does she talk like that? Asked Toddy in a whisper of the wax doll. She is French, said the wax doll. She's very proud. The walking doll held her tip-tilted parasol and her fan and glanced at Toddy. What is it you are made of? She asked. Pardon the zizimoy, but la, I do not recognize the substance. I'm made of wood, answered Toddy with dignity. Wood? La, la, la. Tee-hee-hee. Her laughing sounded as if she were wound up. Tee-hee, la, la. I thought doorknobs and broom handles and bedposts and clothes pegs were made of wood, not dolls. So they are, said Toddy, and so are the masts of ships and flagpoles and violins and trees, said Toddy. She and the walking doll looked at one another, and though the walking doll was quite 10 inches taller than Toddy, Toddy did not flinch. I'm made of need and porcelain, said the walking doll. Inside I have a little set of works. Wind me up and I walk. Walk, 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 cried the other dolls. Merci, Jenny, machine pas, which means she would not walk unless she wanted. But of course she could not walk unless someone wound her up. I once knew a kid doll, said Toddy. I did not like her. Who is talking about kid dolls? Came a voice from the opposite table. Who did not like kid dolls? I don't, said Toddy firmly, though at the sound of that voice she felt as if instead of being wood all through, she might have been made hollow inside. And who are you? Said the voice. It is a little object, said the walking doll, that has found its way in here. La, it's made of wood. Of wood, said the voice. Once I knew a little doll made of wood, and I did not like her at all. I have never seen one, said the walking doll. They were sold in the cheaper shops, a shilling a dozen or 4 for a penny. The children's silly little things would waste their money on them. La, children, but see. Horrible little creatures. The walking doll says that in French, that I can't read. Silly little things, little creatures. Those are children they are talking about, said the wax doll, shocked. Her voice, after the others, was meltingly soft. How dare they, said the wax doll. They don't deserve the name of doll. But tell me about those things you were talking of, the ships and flagpoles. It must be good to be made of something hard, said the wax doll. It is, said Toddy. At the moment all the good wood in her was standing firmly against the things the voice and the haughty doll had said. Toddy knew that voice. She looked across at the other table, and she saw whom she had expected to see. She saw Marchpane. Marchpane saw her. Oh, it's you, said Marchpane. Yes, said Toddy. Strange, said Marchpane. I thought you would have been broken or thrown away long, long ago. No, said Toddy. What is it they used to call you? Asked Marchpane. Spotty, Dotty. Surely it was Dotty. Tee-tee-hee-tee-tee, giggled the walking doll. Tee-hee-hee-hee-hee. My name is Toddy, said Toddy. It always has been. I couldn't be expected to remember, said Marchpane. There were so many of you. Not in our family, said Toddy. I was the only one. She is the only one now, said the wax doll. The only one of her kind in this exhibition. I heard them say so. For some time there had been whispers going on amongst the dolls, and now the walking doll was listening. La, is it possible? She asked. Nah, demanded out. What is it? Asked Marchpane. They say that some of the dolls here are to be sold out of their families. What? Sold by your own family? Sold? 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 Ran the whisper among the dolls. La, Quimmeher, said the walking doll. My museum would never part with me. Nor mine, said Marchpane quickly. Nor mine, said the wax doll, but she said it with a fluttering sigh. You notice that Toddy had said nothing all this time. This was Toddy's secret trouble. Yes, Toddy thought that Emily and Charlotte had sold her to Mrs. Innisfree. If you look back to page 44 of this book, you will see why. We paid for some of the dolls, Mrs. Innisfree had said. I should like to pay you for Toddy. How much would you pay? Charlotte had asked. Oh, Charlotte, would you pay a whole pound? Toddy shuddered when she remembered that. We should pay a guinea, said Mrs. Innisfree. Of course, Toddy did not know that Emily and Charlotte had given the guinea back to Mrs. Innisfree. She thought she was sold and would presently be sold again. She was filled with shame. It must be here on those cards, thought Toddy, only they can't read them because they are upside down, and Marchpane is too far away on the other table. But soon they must know, thought Toddy. La, I am glad I am not standing next to such a one, said the walking doll. But you are, thought Toddy. She wished she could sink through the table. The other dolls were longing for the exhibition to open. Marchpane, of course, was eager for the people to come and admire her. And so was the haughty doll. The wax doll was excited. She had been packed away in a box so long. Do you think there will be any children? She asked, with longing in her voice. Children? I hope not, said Marchpane. I hope ye will not touch, said the haughty doll. They had better not touch me, said Marchpane. That must certainly not be allowed. But you were not meant to be played with, asked the wax doll. I was. La, you are unhappy? I am shut away in a box, away from children, and it is children who give us life, said the wax doll. And tumble one about and spoil one, said Marchpane, and the walking doll shuddered to the tip of her parasol. Isn't that life? Asked Toddy. I want children, cried the wax doll. She stopped. It had been on the tip of her tongue to say, I wish I could be sold. She wished she dared to say this aloud, but wax is not very brave stuff, and so she remained quiet. Toddy wished the exhibition would never open, but it will, thought Toddy, and then someone will buy me. I shall be sold, and when the exhibition closes, I shall go away to a new home. Oh, cried Toddy. Oh, Apple, Darner, Bertie, Mr. Plantagenet, my little home. Oh, oh, oh. But no sign of grief showed on her wooden face. She stood as firm as ever. Is it true, said one of the dolls, that this exhibition is to be opened by a queen? Queen Victoria? Asked the wax doll, looking at the dolls in the glass case. Toddy whispered to her that Queen Victoria had been dead long ago. Forgive me, said the wax doll. I have been shut away so long. A queen, said Marchpane with great satisfaction. How right and proper. She will be sure to notice me. They always do, she said, though Toddy was sure she had never seen a queen before. I am so glad I have been clean. I always stay clean, said Toddy. Wood can be washed and be none the worse. So can scrubbing brushes, said Marchpane tartly. I am afraid Her Majesty will have rather a disagreeable surprise, said Marchpane. She can't have been told that there are farthing dolls in this exhibition. Why, I don't suppose, said Marchpane, opening her china blue eyes wide, that she knows that such things exist. Even queens can learn, said Toddy quietly. Every evening when the exhibition room was shut, a child came to look at the dolls. A child, a child, a child. the whisper would go through the room, because so many of the dolls, though being rare and precious, had been for a long while put away in boxes or kept on shelves or in museums. They had not been near children for so long. They yearned toward this little girl who crept in to look at them. None of them yearned more than the wax doll. The child was thin, with poor clothes, and she kept her hands behind her as if she had been told not to touch. She went from one doll to the other and stared with eyes that looked large in her thin face. "La, you would think had never seen a doll before," said the walking doll. "Perhaps she hasn't as close as this," said Toddy. "Dolls are scarce now and very expensive." "Quite right. They should never be given to children to be played with," said Marchpane. The wax doll looked at the child as if her heart would melt. "Little darling," she said, "how good she is, how gentle. See, she doesn't even touch." At that moment, the child took one hand from behind her back and stretched it out to the wax doll, and with a finger very gently touched her satin dress. The wax doll trembled with pleasure from head to toe. After that, the child came most often to look at the wax doll. "I believe she is the caretaker's child," said Marchpane. "She is my child," breathed the wax doll. Now the day came for the exhibition to be opened. By 11 o'clock, everything was dusted and ready. The ladies were waiting, the dolls were waiting, and a great number of other ladies and gentlemen and a few children, invited guests, were waiting. Marchpane and the haughty doll were preening their necks to hold them to the greatest advantage and setting off their dresses. The wax doll was looking at the children and thinking that they were not as good as the caretaker's child. Toddy stood dreading and fearing the moment when someone would buy her and her secret must be told. The exhibition ladies kept coming along the tables and shifting and tidying what was arranged and neat already, and putting straight what was straight before. "I do wish they wasn't," sighed Toddy. "They are showing us every attention." "Naturally," said Marchpane. "We are very important. At least," she corrected herself, "some of us are." "I do not like attention," said Toddy, who had been dusted and flicked with a feather broom and stood up and down until she felt giddy. There was a stir, a pause. The Queen had come. Presently they heard her voice. The Queen's voice was as clear, her words as distinct as separate drops of water. Clear and cool, clear and cool. Toddy had heard that about water once, and the Queen's voice sounded to her like that. "I have great pleasure in declaring this exhibition open," said the Queen's voice, and there was an immediate clapping of hands. "Why are they clapping?" asked the wax doll. "They are clapping us, of course," said Marchpane. "They are clapping the Queen," said Toddy. Now the ladies and gentlemen followed the Queen, who was attended by the ladies of the exhibition and her own lady-in-waiting, began to come down the table looking at the dolls. The lady-in-waiting carried a bouquet of chrysanthemums. "That is for us, I expect," said Marchpane. "How could it be for us? It's too big," said Toddy. But by now Marchpane was so far gone in conceit that nothing looked too big for her. "But she isn't wearing a crown," said the wax doll, disappointed. "She only wears a crown when she goes to Parliament and places like that," said Toddy, who had learned about kings and queens when her little girls from great-grandmother down to Charlotte learned their history. "She has the most elegant hat with great feathers," said Marchpane. "I shall have one copied for myself." "Shh! She's coming this way." "La, I am nervous," said the walking doll. "Genesi," which means she did not feel very well. The wax doll trembled, but the people thought it was their footsteps shaking the room. Toddy remained woodenly staring in front of her. On the queen came, stopping, looking, touching this doll or that, asking questions. Then she stopped directly in front of Marchpane, as Marchpane had known she would. "What a beautiful doll," said the queen. "Surely she is the smallest in the exhibition." Now in Marchpane's ears, the queen could not have asked a more unfortunate question. Marchpane was not the smallest doll in the exhibition. Toddy was, and Marchpane hated her for that. She almost cracked her china as she heard Mrs. Innisfree say, "There is one even smaller, ma'am, this little farthing doll," and saw the queen turn away to Toddy. "Oh," said the queen, "oh, I used to play with wooden dolls like this when I was a little girl." "A queen with wooden dolls? How very surprising," said the other dolls. "La cama sister," said the walking doll. As for Marchpane, she said nothing. She was afraid she really would crack if she did. "I haven't seen one for years and years," said the queen. "My nurse used to buy them for me," and then she asked the very question Toddy was dreading to hear. "Is she for sale?" asked the queen. Every knot and grain in Toddy hardened as she waited for the answer to come. Whispers ran up and down the dolls. "I should like to buy her if she is," said the queen. "Bertie, Emily, Charlotte, Mr. Plantagenet, Apple, Darner, Apple, goodbye," whispered Toddy. She wished she could close her eyes to shut out the faces, but naturally she had to keep them woodenly open. But what was this that Mrs. Innisfree was saying? "I'm afraid not, ma'am," said Mrs. Innisfree. "She isn't for sale. She is the very dear possession of two little girls," and she pointed to the card. The queen picked up the card and read them out. "Sampler, worked by a little girl in 1846. Farthing doll, dressed by the same little girl in 1846. Lent by her great-granddaughters Emily and Charlotte Dane in 1946. "Of course," said the queen, "she must be a great treasure. May I look at her?" And Toddy was picked up in the pale gray glove of the queen, who examined her and examined her clothes. "Dear little thing," said the queen, and gave Toddy back to Mrs. Innisfree and passed on down the tables. "My dear, you've had such a success file," said the haughty doll. Toddy did not ask what a success foo was. For the first time her wood felt weak, bending, and then one of the ladies ran forward with a cry. "Oh dear," she said, "the little farthing doll has fallen over and rolled right off the table." Chapter 10. Toddy was not hurt. Such happiness flowed through her that she felt as though the sap of her tree had risen in her wood, as it once had every spring, and it was running through her. "Toddy is happy because the queen wanted to buy her," said the other dolls. "She is happy because the queen couldn't buy her," Toddy could have corrected them. "But what was it all about?" asked Toddy. "Emily and Charlotte must have had a change of heart." That was as near as Toddy ever came to understanding the truth, and it was very near the truth. "God bless the queen," said Toddy. "God bless the queen." But Marchpane was bitterly jealous. Let's stop there. We'll start with chapter 11 when I come back.